I'm Ray McNeil. Welcome to Good Global Vibes. So today I am excited to bring you a double Emmy award-winning animator from The Simpsons, Mr. Charlie Ragins. And Charlie's going to talk to us today about his journey. But most importantly, Charlie's going to talk to us about you fulfilling your dreams and keeping your vibe up. So let's welcome Charlie to the show. Hi, Charlie. Welcome to the show. I've known you for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And you are a double Emmy award-winning animator from The Simpsons.
That sounds
so tell us
good.
how this all began, Charlie.
Well, let's see. I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska. I was born and raised there. And, from, as far back as I can remember, probably kindergarten or maybe even earlier, I was always drawing. And early on, teachers started to take notice that I was more interested in it than just your average student. And then what my second grade teacher, Mrs. Morgan, had my parents kind of see, more about, what she'd been collecting. And she kept a little scrapbook of things that I'd been working on. And then at, I think 7 or 8 years old, I was put in my very first community college arts class. And it was kind of a pivotal moment in my life where the teacher thought I was pretty good. And, I just really enjoyed it. And I liked getting the attention from it. And, I always wanted to have some, feel like I had some kind of cool identity, and being an artist, was that for me. And I just called myself an artist from probably, late elementary school, all the way till now. At 12 years old, I got a Artist of the Week article written about me from the local paper. And it was literally 12 years old. I'm like, okay, I love this. I want to be an artist for the rest of my life. And I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew I enjoyed it so much and more than anything else. And I just decided this is how it's going to go. And I never, ever looked back. I never thought after that. I never thought, well, maybe I should be doing something else. And also, I was up in Fairbanks, Alaska, so I was surrounded by, great fine art, and it was a great arts community. So there was a lot of opportunity for me to learn. And in 6th grade, I was taking adult classes in, watercolors and, drawing and all sorts of things. And then probably as a freshman in high school, I started, looking at the art schools I wanted to go to. And literally all of this stuff was happening I was pretty young when I got that focused.
What led you to LA, Los Angeles, and how did you end up being an animator on The Simpsons?
Well, it's interesting because it was kind of a circuitous route. So I went to Rhode Island School of Design. I majored in illustration. And, while I was there, The Simpsons came on TV. It was 1989, and I graduated in 1991. So it was really at its height of popularity, right when I was in art school. And I became a big fan of the show. And some of my friends and colleagues at the school actually, applied to become, employees and artists on the show. And one guy, my friend Lance, actually took a test and became a background designer on the show, early in the 2nd season. But at that point, I'm like, I kind of want to do my own thing. I don't think it's a good idea for me to just go work on a show. I want to go be my own artist. I'm not going to, go and work for someone else first. I'd rather see if I can make it on my own. And so I ended up going back to my hometown, and I was lucky enough to have gotten a couple of book contracts, and I illustrated a couple books up there. Then I realized, I liked doing the work, but I hated the quality of life. I hated being by myself, especially up in Alaska when it's super dark and depressing, 9 months out of the year. My decision to move to LA was based on, wanting to be around other people and working in animation and on a show like The Simpsons. It was just a fun atmosphere. And that was a far cry from being an individual solo artist, up in my hometown where I was one of the only people doing it. And I was totally isolated,
Right.
And I was kind of one of the best in town as a young person, and I would rather be a little fish, in a big pond than a medium-sized fish in a tiny little pond. My first children's book actually we launched it at the International Reading Association conference, and I illustrated a rather famous Alaskan author wrote it, and I knew, for a variety of reasons, I needed to move on, and it was difficult because I was actually doing well as an illustrator, and I could have kept going, but I knew friends who were on the show, who've been on the show, and while I was at that conference, I got invited to the Simpsons studio to take a tour and like visit some of my friends who worked there. And when I got there, I instantly like fell in love with the environment, and like, man, these guys are having so much fun. They get a good paycheck at the end of the week, and they're like, this is like a college dorm that people are getting paid to be in and draw all day on the very killer show. It was just great. And I'm like, how do I get a job here? It's like, here I had this career up in Alaska, but I'm like, maybe I can do both. We'll see, or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
I felt like after 5 years of being in my hometown again, I wanted to try something new. And so I took a drawing test. I took it back to Alaska and like worked on it. And I had my friends look at it and kind of mentor me through the process to make sure that I was giving the studio what they were looking for. And then in the spring of 1996, I wasn't getting a kind of responses of like, okay, yeah, you're hired, come down. And I realized I just got to pack up and get in my car and get in their face until they give me a job. I drove to LA from Fairbanks, Alaska, and within 2 weeks, I got a job on the show, and I've been working there ever since. June 17th of this year will be my 25th anniversary, and I've pretty much done kind of the same job the whole time, except what's cool about the show is we've done so many different things on the show. Like I got to work on the movie. I was one of the chief designers on the Krusty Land on the ride at Universal Studios. So this is the 30-year anniversary edition of The Simpsons. This is Newsweek.
Newsweek magazine?
Newsweek magazine did a special 30 years of America's favorite TV family celebration.
So you won 2 Emmys. What were the Emmys for?
The first individual achievement award, Emmy, for outstanding individual achievement, was 22 years into the show, and I won that Emmy. Okay. And then 4 years later, I won my second one. The first one I did, I won it for like the sequence of like an abandoned a subway, like a New York subway style subway. And I got into like drawing all this cool subway stuff and like the detail, and my director just said, go to town on this thing. And so I spent a lot of time on it. And then, the following, several months later, after it aired, the studio wanted to put some work forward for Emmy consideration, and they only picked my work. They called me, oh, we're going to put your work forward. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we never win that kind of stuff. It's like the show wins, but artists don't win. Yeah, the voice actors win, the writers win, and the show wins, but the artists never win. Like, that's just not what people, care about.
Yeah.
I had that attitude. Like, we're just kind of like the low men on the totem pole, whatever. And then
a miracle happened.
Yeah. And then at work, I was working one day, and a guy I used to work with on the show called me. His name's Sean Cashman. He was like the animation peer group governor for the Television Academy. I thought he was offering me a job, And so he calls me up. He calls me up at work, and he's like, "Hey, Chuck, this is Sean Cashman." I'm like, "Oh my God, Sean, how are you?" And he said, "I've got some good news for you." I'm like, "What?" And he said, "You're an Emmy winner." And I'm like, "What? You're kidding me. That can't be right." And then I was just sitting in my seat at my desk in shock, like completely shocked. Like, this isn't happening right now.
Tell us, what's next for you? What is next?
So about 7 years ago, like right around when I won my second Emmy, I started thinking of kind of what's next for me. And literally like within a month or two of winning, I'd gotten a call to have these writers come over to the studio and like pitch a show, and I was going to help them get the meeting. And then I helped them get the meeting. They invited me into the meeting, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm in a pitch meeting for the very first time. I love this. I just want to pitch my own ideas now. Oh my God. It's like, I've just, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Right. I've been
Right.
like working on somebody else's dream for 20 years or whatever. Now I want to work on my own. So I literally I came up with an idea for a show like within 2 weeks and started kind of like working on it. And then I literally started learning how to write. And this is one of my tips is, if you have something you really, really want to do, get good at it, get mentors, get coaches, get people surrounding you that are willing to help you, who are better than you. And don't be afraid
Awesome.
to share your work. And in my journey and over the, last 6 or 7 years, I've hit a lot of roadblocks, but I've never stopped. I might have taken a pause, but I've gone around them, gone over them, gone under them, and I've just kept moving. I mean, there's some massive things that happened during my project that could have derailed me and had me never want to do it again. And I just decided that that's not going to be my life. I'm not going to let that happen to me. If I want to do more, I want to do what I'm doing. I want to create things that are personal to me and my version of Matt Groening or Seth MacFarlane or Mike Judge. It's, I want to bring my personal voice to television like they all did in their own way. And I realized that this show that I'm working on, that I'm continuing to work on and has evolved tremendously over time, is really a combination of so many different interests I've had over time.
Wow. So it's like a culmination of all the creativity from your entire life coming into this whole,
and what's
you
super
writing
cool,
a show about it. That's so cool. What's so really great about this? I just have to point it out. I mean, we heard your tips, right? You clearly, if you're up to something, you want to dream, get people around you who are better than you, get a mentor, don't let yourself stop. No matter what the block is, go around it, go over it, and start talking to everyone to help you and ask for help, and don't be shy to ask for help, right? That's all what I hear from you. So, I mean, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your tips. Thank you for watching Good Global Vibes. Please, right below the screen on the right, click subscribe. Please subscribe. It's free to subscribe. Click your notifications so you get a notification every week when Good Global Vibes episode comes on. And what I really want to let you know is there's more good vibes on this planet that you can even imagine, more than you can imagine. There's so many good people and so many good vibes. Pull them towards you. Pull those good vibes towards you, and we're going to keep going, giving you more inspiration each and every week. Aloha.